I just have an observation from, I'm from Canada, and I was caring for my mother who died of cancer maybe like 3.5 years ago, and just from hearing like y'all's experiences with the medical community with different alternative doctors and just hospitals and doctors and that, it's nice to hear that frustration. I also want y'all to know that like in Canada there's a lot of that frustration too with the medical system, and that people don't have the choice really to go to naturopaths and things as often because they have socialized healthcare, so everyone goes to the hospital, but everything is like, it was just such a confusing process in general. And anyway, which leads me to a friend of mine yesterday and I were talking about, he used to live in the US and now he lives back in Canada, and just how maybe because of, we discussed that maybe it's because of the like fact that a lot of people don't have healthcare, or their insurance companies are screwing them, that there is a lot more of a sense of like DIY and like community, and like people have to kind of stick together here, whereas I feel like in Canada there isn't really, it exists in like really small radical communities, but in general there isn't that same feeling of like, of course we need to be there for each other, because there is the illusion of this system taking care of us, that this like socialist world, and that's really not real either. And so it's nice to hear y'all's experiences with, and like I relate to the frustration, and it's good to be having this conversation. I think it's so important.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing some reality to our view of Canada. You glorify the shit out of it because, hard times here. So thank you. Other comments?
One thing to the next one we're doing is harm reduction. There's a study done recently, it was printed in 2 years, about the vulnerability index for the homeless population, and how it's the Portland as compared to other large cities like DC, New Orleans, LA, New York, had a much more medically vulnerable homeless population. And like the other things, like how people had more foster care experiences than people in other big cities. That's me interesting. Why is Portland worse than the bigger cities?
Interesting. We're actually, the part of the people that did the vulnerability index will be speaking next month at our harm reduction event.
Do you know who?
Janice, you.
Yeah, I want to hear too.
Oh, okay, great, yeah. So we're going to talk a lot about the vulnerability index next month.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I also wanted to address something positive about that's come out of my group of friends around support and caregiving. And something that was really helpful that we started doing was like the caregivers meeting and checking in with each other and kind of delegating stuff that needs to get done. So being like, all right, this time you're the one who's going to make sure she's taking her meds, and this time you're just doing like basic stuff like that and mixing it up, and that's been really helpful.
I recently heard of that happening in my community, and I was super proud of people getting together to do that for so many reasons. So I think that's a great idea to highlight. Awesome. We want to do a couple other things. One is we want to briefly review this pamphlet that we've worked on regarding providing support, as well as getting support for yourself if you have chronic pain or illness, and perhaps do a little bit of small group discussion and then some closure. So perhaps, we were hoping to be done by 8, and we'll be done probably quite a bit before then, a little bit before then, so hopefully get you out of here. And I'll pass these out. So pass a bunch of these out. So when we got together, we started having lots of conversations about communication, and primarily a lot of our suggestions that we wanted to make to the community were related to communication and talking about difficult things. And of course, this isn't going to work for every single person in every single situation. You have to use your gut and your intuition, your own experience about the people in your life you're providing care to, or about your own experiences. So these are just some suggestions. built from our collective and from some other folks who are writing in the community about having chronic pain and illness. So I'm just going to briefly review it. You certainly can read it all on your own. But one of the things we talked about was being present with people who are having chronic pain and illness and validating their experience. We talked a lot about these awkward moments where someone says, hey, how are you doing? And someone says, not too good. You know, and all the difficult things that come up when someone doesn't have something wonderful and fancy and happy to say when you ask them how they're doing. So validating people's experience when they do disclose their pain, their illness, their treatment needs. And there's lots of suggestions there of things. And you don't have to learn nonviolent communication. You don't have to learn I statements. You just have to talk in a genuine, authentic way from your own voice, from your own experience when you're talking to people. It can get really odd in our communities where it feels like there's this specific way you should talk. And really, we just want to also talk about having just authentic language. And all those tools and skills are great, but you don't have to be well versed in those. Just talking from your own genuine place. The other thing we talked about was watching for problem solving. A lot of people, a lot of folks in the collective that have experienced chronic pain or illness talked about people really wanting to problem solve, and we really talked about this as a possible way people move away from vulnerable emotions in the moment. So when someone says, you know, I'm having this certain pain, this back pain, it's getting worse, it's not healing. What's it like to sit with that with a friend or a family member or a partner, rather than problem solve or give suggestions? You know, in Claire's piece, she talks about, you know, getting suggestions of Epsom salts bath as if that isn't something someone has thought of or someone else has already suggested. But so being careful for problem solving and not putting yourself in an expert power over role. Another guy, Ben, who's friends with some folks in our collective, is writing an article about illness and support. And he talked about you know, telling even horror stories in an attempt to get yourself away from an awkward moment with folks. Oh, my friend had that, they didn't do so well, or my friend had that, their aunt or their uncle had that, and they died. You know, just being really careful of things that come up for you, and not being too careful that you can't be yourself, but watching what communication does come up. Dave Roche's Zine talks also about some of the difficult moments he's had with people, explaining his Crohn's disease and how people respond to Crohn's. Another suggestion was reflecting on the difficult moments with your folks and talking about it, noticing discomfort or awkwardness in your communication with people, which could lead to you pulling away from the person. One of the women who spoke talked about people, you know, pulling away and isolating, and just really watching out for difficult moments that can create a lot of chronic distance when actually what people need is support, not distance. So watching out for that. And trying to be vulnerable, share feelings, and there's lots of examples there. You know, people might have a really hard time asking for help, and it might be helpful to say, I'm having a difficult time asking for help, I'm actually avoiding you, and just really trying to talk more about what's really happening.